Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing this afternoon? Good? Raise your hand if you're asleep. Okay. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time to come to this session. My name is Łukasz Pawłowski. I'm a program manager on the PowerBI team. Today, I'm going to talk with you about enterprise reporting in PowerBI. And we're going to cover a huge swath of territory, because in this session, you will learn all of the basic tools you need to create content, deploy it at scale, manage it, and then administer it. There are other sessions that go into some of those topics in much more detail. So I encourage you to go find them, especially the PowerBI admin session, which goes into extensive amounts of detail, which we won't be able to cover in this talk. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you this experience of if you're walking in for the first time and understanding PowerBI and trying to say, I should use a this for a that, and this, and how do I use an app, and how do I create an app, and how do I govern an app, and how do I do all these things? I want you to have all those experiences behind you after this hour. So it's going to go fast and furious, and hopefully you will enjoy it. We're going to talk about distributing insights. We're going to answer all the how questions. How to use workspaces, apps, and sharing. How to use data sets. Who saw the shared datasets demo in the keynote? Yes? Okay, we're going to go extensively into shared datasets. They're a huge part of how you can deploy content at scale in Power BI. We're going to talk about some of the harder technical things like permissions and row-level security and licensing, so to make sure that you understand it so you can educate your users as well. We're going to talk about some major changes that Power BI team is doing to make end users successful. Because when we talk about enterprise reporting, it's about getting that analytics into the hands of end users so they can go make business decisions. We're also going to talk a little bit about how you extend the reach of that analytics out into the existing portals and even to external partners. We're going to talk about admin and governance, where we're going to cover all of the major things you need to know about in order to go make sure that only the right people have access to the data. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Jumping in, at a very big level, really high level, Power BI enables two ways of distributing content to users. One is where we started and we grew up, which is the self-service BI. A user who's motivated finds a piece of data, wants to share it, quickly grabs Power BI desktop, uploads it, shares it with their friends, and now suddenly everyone's using it. That's all self-service BI. And then there's centralized BI. This is the IT team, maybe supporting the C-suite, maybe supporting a business group, trying to make sure that everyone in the organization has access to the truthful data set, the one that is up to date, the one that the measures add up at the end of the day. And all those things, how does someone do that? Well, Power BI is a platform in the cloud that allows you to do that easily. And I'll talk through all the major skills and tools that you have for doing that. So we'll start here. Who here has published a report to Power BI? Okay, most of the room. So you're probably familiar with workspaces and apps. These are the two foundational tools that you have for workspaces, creating content, collaborating with your team to build the content, and apps, the tool for distributing content at scale to an organization. Now, these two sometimes get confused. Why would I use a workspace? Why would I use an app? This is probably the first thing that you should know as you walk into a Power BI deployment. The first thing to know is that we create content in workspaces. This is where we publish reports and dashboards. If we want to work as a team, we work there together. Now, it gets kind of tricky once I have a stakeholder who really shouldn't be touching the report but needs to review it before we roll it out to someone. And so you have some tools. So typically, if a user needs access to just one item, you just share that individual item to that user. Now, after you do this a couple of times, it gets harder and harder and harder to maintain. And so you have to ask yourself, should I then give them access to the workspace? And maybe I should. And traditionally, you give them the member role in a workspace, which lets them upload content, change content, but also view all of the content in that workspace. And we'll talk about how that capability changes in the future as we add what we call the viewer role. We'll talk extensively about that later. But I can add them to the workspace. Then they have access to all of the content. And the member role, those roles have uniform permissions, so they always have the same permissions on all the items that are in that workspace. It makes it really easy to manage that content at scale. But now what happens when I have 18,000 sales reps and they all need access to their yearly review report that says, did they attain their quota? Well, I'm not going to give 18,000 people access to that workspace. Like, they would get lost. If my CEO wakes up in the morning, right, at 4 in the morning and says, how are we doing on Net Promoter Score? Darn it, right? Well, guess what? You're not going to be telling them to go to a workspace and figure out or remember that link you sent them in email. What you're going to do is you're going to create an app. You're going to package all that official content you want your broad stakeholders to have access to, and you're going to create that app and send it out to those users. And apps are interesting because they also take a copy of the reports so that you can have a stable copy in the app while you continue making changes in your workspace. Every time you update your app, the updates get applied. And so you can add these 18,000 users or your CEO and their executive team into that app workspace. And that's pretty much the foundational piece. Very much misunderstood, but that's the foundational piece. So now let's talk about how we're going to bring more and more value into that existing ecosystem so that you can distribute authoritative data. And that's the new thing that we announced and is actually rolled out today, is shared datasets. Shared datasets allow you to have a dataset that you own and maintain and curate. You determine who has access to it. You manage that, typically through security groups. And then you distribute that broadly within your organization so that all the business groups that are building on top of your enterprise data and all of the ad hoc users who are building on top of your data know that they're using the certified data set that IT provided for them, and that's the one they should use, not the one their friend had that they uploaded into their own little workspace, right? And so it gives you a single source of truth that allows, and the tools to distribute that broadly. And we're going to go into that here as we go through. So the first tool that we provide around shared datasets is the ability to discover them. And we've integrated a browser or a picker for datasets that shows you all of the datasets that you as a Power BI user have access to in a single screen, and you can search through that. It's integrated in the Power BI service when you go create a report in a workspace. And it's also integrated in the Power BI desktop when you press the Power BI Datasets button. So it gives a simple, easy way for those to get exposed. The second thing that we've done is we've enabled IT to promote and to certify datasets. Certification is a privileged operation. As an IT admin, you go into the Power BI admin portal and you choose who in your organization can certify. Not just anyone can certify. And it's great because then you can maintain control over that one source of truth. Now, end users will see what we call an endorsement when they go to use that data set. And it can either say certified or it can say promoted. And then they can tell that that's a better data set than the other ones. Now, promoted is important because it allows business groups to choose the data sets that they want the rest of the organization to use without the need to call the IT admin, because sometimes finding the admin or getting them to say yes is a little hard. So we've actually enabled both this ability from the top level to assert what is truthful, and also from the bottom level, if you have a cool data set that you as a business unit need to get quickly in front of all the users who should be using it, you can go do both. And it's a very nice and flexible experience. So with that, let's quickly jump in and do a demo of the shared dataset capability. Perfect. The moment I have a mouse, we will continue. Okay, so let's see. So this is Power BI, believe it or not. Now, if you were at the keynote, we also demoed what we call the new look. I'm kind of stealing my own thunder here because later we'll talk a little bit more about the new look. But it's designed to make it easier for users to find content and be more welcoming for new users. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the life cycle of using a data set as a shared data set. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Datasets tab, and you see I have this opportunity analysis sample, right? And what I can do here is I can go into the ... menu and come down into the settings for this data set. And then we'll go down here to endorsement. And we'll zoom in on that. Here we go. So now what you can see is I can choose different levels of endorsement. I can have promoted. I can have certified. Why do I have certified? I have certified because an IT admin gave me the right to certify datasets. This is disabled for the vast majority of end users. I'll show you here in a second where we change that. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set the promoted, and I'm going to go and say apply. So now that I've done this, if I come back into the data set, you'll notice that I've just promoted the data set. It's endorsed as promoted. Okay? Now I could do that because, and ever so fortuitously, I am logged in as the PowerBI admin here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the PowerBI admin portal, and I'm going to go to tenant settings. And within tenant settings, there is an option for endorsing data sets. Here we go. And you'll see that I have this data set certification, and I've enabled it, right? So what this means is that I can actually go and give different users. Now you notice in this organization, I haven't given everyone the ability to certify data set. I gave it to the members of this security group. And that's important. If you have an access management process within your organization, you can set up a rule that someone can request to become a certifier, someone can review that, their manager or their manager's manager can approve it, and presto whammo, in Power BI, you can certify things. So it's a way in which we've made it super simple for you to use those tools that we have in order to certify it. So great, so that's good enough, right? Now I have my data set here. And I'm going to, whoops, I wasn't supposed to press apply all. So, okay, we're here. So let's go back to the data set. So now how do I go about creating content on this data set? Well, what I could do is even in this workspace, I could go create a report. And I could see this opportunity analysis sample is listed. You'll also notice that I have several other data sets here that are certified within this organization. So as you know, as I would, whoops, as I would, I can go ahead and create a report, select my opportunity analysis data set, and continue on my day, select some facts, something about revenue, maybe something about opportunity, maybe, and here we go. So I have my report. Save this report. Perfect. So now I have the report. Now this is all well and good. I have this report in this workspace. What's interesting about shared datasets is they're no longer locked in an individual workspace as they have been. I can use this data set in any workspace that I have access to where I can create content. So let's go here and let's do this. Let's go to a different workspace. And it has a very similar name, but it's called Destination, and we'll talk about it in a second. And let's say I wanted to go and find my data sets. There's a little option down here for Publish Dataset, which I'll just go ahead and click on. And you'll notice I'm presented with the exact same screen as I had before. And so I can choose the exact same data set as I had before. And I can create, hopefully, the exact same report as I did before. But now, I'm not editing this in the workspace where the data set lives. I'm creating and editing this in a different workspace. And what that means is you as IT can curate the official sets of data sets in your workspace that you control and enable everyone else who should have access to create their content to create it in their workspaces. It doesn't clutter your workspace. You know exactly which things you maintain versus other people maintain. So it's a foundational shift in how data sets can be used and, let's say, reused in your organization. So now I have this report, which is really nice. So let me just go save this report, Embaz Demo 2. Now I'm going to go back to the original workspace that I was in. And I'm going to do this because I wanted to highlight several more features that you may not have noticed, because I went through really quickly. I don't know if you noticed that over here, right over here on the report, I have a new Save a Copy icon, okay? And what this means is that if I have permission to this report and the underlying data set, we'll talk extensively about permissions here in a bit, I can press this button and I can put into a different workspace Sorry, I've been having network issues, which is why we slowed down earlier. I can choose a different workspace, and I can copy the report into that workspace. Now, if you're familiar with the transition we have going on between classic and new workspace experience workspaces, you need to use a new workspace experience. But now you'll notice that this report, the same one that we had before, is in the demo destination workspace. If I go into that workspace, you'll see that we have several reports, the one that I created and the one that I copied. And so now I can go and edit this further and make my own customizations. So it's really important. Now I can start collaborating more quickly. So if I'm in IT and I want to create a report for many business groups to reconfigure for their own needs, for example, a lot of organizations have a parent organization and a bunch of subsidiaries, sometimes in regions. And in the regions, they need to, tweak the reports. Let me just hold questions for a little while. And what they can do is they can copy the report into the right workspace, let the regions update it. It's still connected to the original data set. I see some smiles because it's their scenario. And so that then allows them to move more quickly as you roll out new updates to content. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, now who here has published a Power BI app? Okay, the hands are starting to thin down. That's good. So half of the people who published a report have created an app. Now, when I create an app in Power BI, I do that to distribute to a large audience, right? That 18,000 sales rep scenario we talked about earlier. So I do that by pressing this little publish button here at the top. And what's interesting about this shared dataset capability is after I provide a nice description, what I can do is I can go and publish this app. And let me just go ahead and publish it really quickly. And I'll just go. Now, what you'll notice is if I open this app, I have all those reports that we had before. It's going to take a second to install here. And so here's my beautiful app, two beautiful reports. We'll talk about the new app nav here in a second. But those reports are connected, guess what? To the same original IT certified data set, so that all the apps people create from their own workspaces also have access to that same data. It's one source of truth. If you fix the definition of a measure because you weren't quite calculating net revenue correctly, it'll just roll out to all those users without them even knowing, right? It'll be really nice. Okay, so we've built this single consistent experience across using data sets across any kind of workspace that you have, specifically new workspace experience workspaces, but any one that you have access to create into. Okay. So with that, there's a good demo. I'm going to continue holding questions. I know there was a person here who wanted a question. Because I wanted to first cover a number of major concepts. I showed them in the demo, but sometimes pictures say 1,000 words. So the first thing that we need to understand about shared data sets is they empower you to reuse a data set across any number of workspaces. And what's really important is that when you have reports and dashboards in those other workspaces, the user who edits those reports doesn't need elevated permissions on the data set. They don't need the ability to edit it specifically. And that's a really big, important change. And we'll come back to it a number of times as the slides continue, because it's really important for us to understand. Importantly, when you're doing some of these operations and working in workspaces, you do need a pro license in order to do that. So when you're doing some of these copy scenarios, as I showed, you do need to do that. Another thing that's interesting and is critical as we talk about shared data sets, we didn't only allow reports in the service to connect to those data sets. We also allowed Power BI Desktop to connect to those data sets. But we didn't only allow Power BI Desktop to connect to the data set. We also allowed any third-party tool that uses the XMLA interface to connect as well. And that's a whole ecosystem of analytics tools. Excel is an example of such a tool, right? But there are others that we could go into. And so we've enabled that true one source of truth. And when we did that copy operation, it looked so simple in the UI. What it actually did is it copied the report, but it maintained the connection back into the underlying data set. So that way, no matter where I copied that report, it was always connected back. Importantly, I could copy it into a workspace where I have permission to the data set, but the rest of the people in the workspace don't. Okay, well, guess what's going to happen? Those people will open that report, and they will see that they don't have access to the data set and will need to get access before they can use that report. Okay? They can delete the report. They have permission to delete it. It won't delete the underlying data set. But they won't ever access the data until the person who manages that data set gives them permission. And we'll talk about that in detail in a little bit. The next thing to say is that when I'm taking these reports and these dashboards, I might want to deliver them out to end users. And one of the key things that we've done is that we've actually enabled a flow where, as an app user, I could actually save a copy of an app report. What that means is, like, apps, I mean, when I send an app to 18,000 people, let's be honest, right? Like, I didn't design it for each individual person, right? Each individual person has their own job, their own problems, needs to work quickly. Well, once you enable the ability to save a copy of an app report, that user can take that copy, put it in their My Workspace, personalize it for their unique needs so they can get their job done. And it's all done in a way that's based on these connections back into the data set with the same permission model. So it's super, super important. The next thing that I, of course, can do is I can copy those reports into a different workspace, but then the user who's in that workspace can actually publish an app from that workspace to their audience. And all that maintains the connectivity back into the original shared data set so that everyone sees that one source of truth. But again, if the consumer, the end user consuming it, doesn't have access to the data set, they see nothing, right? They don't see the data. Okay, now, so one of those things that's going to come out of this whole shared data sets thing is that we, as people deploying BI, centralized BI with centralized data sets, we will also have to ensure that we curate that access management story. We've done that in other contexts. You know, we know how to do that for SharePoint sites and Teams and so forth with request access portals. There's a whole industry of people who build access management. So it's an important thing to take away, that as you start rolling this capability out, do think about how your users are going to go and get access to these data sets at scale. Okay. So here's the options for how you enable the saving of an app report. I didn't show it in the demo just for the interest of time. There's a couple of checkboxes on the permissions screen in the app's UI that enable this. By default, it's disabled for existing apps. And that means the app author gets to choose to enable it or not. That's up to you. Okay. We'll talk about the build permission. The build permission is a new foundational permission that makes this whole shared datasets thing work. Because what it allows you to do is it allows you to give the ability for a user to connect to the dataset and use it to create their own reports without giving them the permission to edit the dataset. Today, before shared datasets was released, in a workspace, the only way to use that dataset was to give someone member, admin, or contributor. All those roles had the right permission, which meant the user could edit the dataset. We'll talk a little bit about the impact of that towards row-level security here in a second. But now, with the build permission, I can actually give you the right to create a new report on using this dataset without giving you any right permission on the dataset. It's really foundational. The other thing to think about is that when our read permission that we had since the beginning of PowerBI was very permissive. And we actually had experiences like when we shared to external users in the B2B capability, where we locked it down. In the PowerBI UI, we had all sorts of little code paths to lock things down so that users couldn't do more than just consume a report. What we've done is we've split, logically you can think of it, we split the read permission into read and build. And when you only give read, you're giving a very constrained read-only experience, so that if you have really tight data encapsulation requirements, you can definitely go do that. And there's a number of things which the build permission allows you to do. The most notable is export, but also analyzing Excel, connecting to the data set in the Power BI service through the XMLA endpoint, creating new content when you're using things like our Quick Insights feature or Q&A feature. So that means I'm going to save a new piece of content. It also is the underpinning for all those copy features we've already been talking about in this session. So the new build permission is something that's super, super important for you to really understand and to start embracing as you enable people to use the shared data sets. Okay? So with that, there was one question here that I wanted to get a chance to answer. That is a great question. So the question was, do these shared datasets capabilities only work in a workspace that's in a dedicated capacity? And the answer is no. The shared datasets capability work for both new workspace experience workspaces that are in what we call shared capacity, as well as in a dedicated capacity. Now, to use that dataset, you need the appropriate licensing. So if you're in the shared capacity, then you need those users to be pro users, right, to view items from that. If you want people to build content, they always need pro, okay? And so if you put that shared data set in a premium capacity, that data set you could build content and share it with others without them being able to edit it, okay? Perfect. So let's do a quick thing on new workspace experience. Who here has, I'll come to your question in a little while. So who here has used the new workspace experience so far? Okay. Okay, this is important. This is why I'm talking about it here. The new workspace experience is a new modern workspace infrastructure that enables you to use things like security groups to manage access to your overall workspace. It is foundational as we start talking about things like shared data sets, the use of paginated reports, and many other capabilities that we have in the Power BI service. And it is the future architecture on which we will ship our new value. Importantly, there's a lot of people on what we call classic workspaces. These are workspaces that are tied to Office 365 groups. And in the past 2 years, we have received a ton of feedback that relationship with creating Office 365 groups every time you created a workspace was problematic, which is why we introduced the new workspace experience. When you create a new workspace experience workspace, it does not create an Office 365 group. You can use any kind of security group to give access to it. That can be a Azure AD security group. It can be a distribution list. It can even be, go figure, an Office 365 group. It's just that the workspace is not the Office 365 group. So it gives you much more control in that way, and it ties into those enterprise access management systems we talked about when we were talking about shared data sets. So it's a really compelling upgrade. The next thing is it gives you more granular workspace permissions. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but the flexibility of the new admin member contributor and soon-to-be viewer roles give you a much easier way in which you can give access to workspaces. And we'll talk in more detail in a couple of seconds. We have improved sharing, better app permissions, and some new experiences in the Power BI admin portal. It's important that we talk about those admin portals experiences. As part of this transition from Office 365 group-based workspaces, the classic workspaces, to the new workspace experience, you're going to shift some of your admin oversight to the Power BI experiences. In the Power BI admin portal, you choose who can create a workspace, for example. Right? So that's going to change some of the things. Some things stay the same. You still go to the Office portal to do audit logs. Great. So what's coming next for the new workspace experience? It's already GA, and it's already the default workspace globally. Maybe sovereign clouds are still getting it soon, very, very soon. The next big thing that we're going to do is we're going to introduce the new viewer role. And I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. We're also going to give workspace admins and tenant admins tools to opt in, upgrade their existing classic workspaces to the new workspace experience. It's a little bit too early for me to share what the UI is going to look like for that, but you'll have an option to upgrade and you'll be able to take your workspace forward. Importantly, if anyone's still using content packs, and I know some of you are because I have the telemetry data, true. They won't be supported. And what we're going to do, we announced 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that content packs are on their deprecation path. What we're going to do is, before you upgrade a workspace, you will need to personalize the content pack, meaning you take a copy of the reports and dashboards and so forth that are in the content pack, and you save them into your workspace. That means they'll get new URLs, which means, so if you shared those URLs directly from your workspace to a user, you need to update it. And then you can upgrade your workspace, and that content will be in the new workspace. And it'll be connected back into the underlying data set in the same way that a personalized app report will be connected. Okay? So we've tried to maintain the functionality as much as we can. Importantly, if you've published a content pack from your workspace, you won't be able to update it anymore. It won't be listed in a list of content packs. So it's really, when you do that upgrade, you're effectively end-of-lifing your content packs from that workspace. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about viewer role. It's coming soon. I generally don't promise dates, so I won't, but soon. The viewer role will enable consumption-only experiences directly inside a workspace. And this is going to replace the read-only workspace experience we had in classic workspaces, where you could go and set up that says members are read-only. And in this way, you're going to be able to have all of the RLS capabilities that you know and love in the classic workspaces for read-only members to view content directly in the workspace. That will start working again in new workspaces. Okay? And I'll tell you, we'll go into RLS here in a little bit because it's a very detailed conversation and few people really understand it at depth. So we'll go do a master class on that here in a second. Importantly, as we add viewer role, it may change when you choose to publish apps and when you choose not to. As I said before, apps are all about publishing to large sets of users, to authoritative content to your stakeholders. There's many situations in which all you need is someone to review your stuff and tell you, that it's right, it's wrong, change this, I don't like the color, whatever that is. And some organizations, teams are fairly small, 10 people, maybe 20. Publishing an app for those folks is just overhead. And so when we have viewer role, it's actually going to be interesting to see because it'll give you another tool for choosing how you're going to distribute that content to the broader mass of users who need it. Okay, so apps will continue to be the top line official distribution mechanism where you want to target lots of users. But for some of these smaller cases, maybe viewer role will be okay. So we also talk a little bit about premium capacity. One of the problems that we have in Power BI, even with the classic workspaces, is that even if you have read-only members, they still need pro licenses. And it's kind of confusing. And so what we're actually going to do is we're going to change our licensing enforcement so that if a user is a free user, and they have viewer role, and the workspace is in a premium capacity, then that user will be able to see the workspace in the workspace list, open the workspace, navigate around it to consume content. Okay? And it's going to be a much simpler, much nicer experience for everybody. Great. Let's talk a little bit about details, because as we talk at the high level, it's sort of hard to get your picture around it. So I wanted to make sure that the slide deck gives you key capabilities and summaries that you can refer to as you talk with your teams. So the first thing is, let's talk about item permissions. When I give someone a role in a workspace, things like admin or member or contributor or viewer, discrete permissions are given on individual items. And those are things like read, write, reshare, and build. And they're given to all the items in the workspace uniformly. So that means if I add 2 reports, a member has exactly the same permission on both. Okay, that makes it easy to manage. And you can see how the contributor role can edit content because they have write permission. They can build new content because they have the build permission, but they can't share it with new users. They need someone who's a member or a admin to do that. So it gives you an option for if you have, for example, contractors working in your organization or more junior employees and you don't want them sharing the finance data with just the wrong person, right? You can actually go constrain them down at a permissions level. At the same side, you can add the viewer role, which gives you the read permission. When you share through an app, users get access to whatever content is in the app and access to the data sets in the original workspace with either just the read permission, or if you check the box in the app publishing to give build permission, they also get build permission. And lastly, through sharing, I can share individual reports or dashboards to users, and I have checkboxes to give the read permission, the reshare permission, and the build permission as well. So all of that is available to you. Let's talk a little bit about row-level security. Who here has used row-level security in Power BI? Okay. Who here wants to be brave and tell me why one user can view all the data and a different user doesn't? I see a taker. So the gentleman said that it knows your AAD identity and then it uses some DAX to constrain what users. And that is absolutely true. But that is not why the user can see the data, all the data, or just some of the data. Okay, one more taker. Geography and ownership. That's a good reason. So geography and ownership is a good reason to use row-level security, but it's not the reason why they have access. And this is why I put together these slides, because this is probably the number one thing that people don't get around how row-level security works in Power BI, and it's critical that we all understand it as we start distributing these shared data sets everywhere. So row-level security, as the gentleman over here was saying, really does let you set up a filter and a set of discrete roles that you assign users to. And it does know who is a part of that role. So in this particular case, I have Josh Kaplan over here on the role. And then based off of whether I'm, which role I'm a member of, right, I see some data or all the data, or we don't even enforce row-level security at all for that user. And this all comes back to whether or not you have some foundational permissions. And it's the right permission. When I have the right permission on a data set, we actually don't enforce row-level security for that data set, for that user. Why? Because you can always go in and change the roles, right? You have right permission. You can edit those role definitions. So even if today you don't have access to it, in a minute you can have access to all the data. So it's kind of not useful to enforce it. Now, if a user doesn't have right permission on the data set, then RLS is fully enforced. And it's fully enforced no matter where that user interacts with that data set, in the original workspace or in any app or in any copied report. And so it's critical that as we think about curating those enterprise data sets, we also think about which workspace they live in and who are members of that workspace, which security groups have access, and how you manage that so that you're rolling that out appropriately. So let's take a couple of examples just to iron out the point. So if I have a workspace, and you'll notice that it has a data set, and user one has some permissions. They have read and build. Read allows them to consume content. Build allows them to create content on that data set. Or they have app or app build. And what that means is they can view the content through an app, or they can build because they got it through the app permissions. So if that user is a member of another workspace, they actually have permission to edit the reports and dashboards in that workspace to their heart's degree. And RLS is fully enforced. Okay? And that's because, again, that user doesn't have the right permission. Now, if the user accesses an app, again, they have app or app build. They don't have right on the data set. So again, when the user accesses that, they enforce RLS. You really want to wait for the last build on each one of these slides, because more text keeps appearing. So then you have a very secure way of distributing this truthful piece of content, this truthful data, out to your end users. Now let's see what happens if I change the scenario and I make that user an admin, a member, or a contributor on Workspace 1. Well, what happens is they get the right permission. And when they get that right permission, suddenly these scenarios where RLS was enforced, RLS is no longer enforced because that user has the right permission. Okay, so it's really important that as we start deploying shared data sets and start using them, these rules will apply. Interestingly, when I give someone the viewer, you'll notice that the three roles that are there our admin member and contributor, it does not say viewer, because viewers only get read permission. So for a viewer in that same workspace, the row level security will apply. Great. Okay, so now with that, let's talk a little bit about licensing. We kind of touched on it earlier in the question, but let's go through a little bit. So the check marks, green, mean you can access, and the X's, red, mean you cannot access. And so what's important is that when you have a workspace or a shared report or an app or an embedded report or dashboard, and it's in a shared capacity, the user needs a pro license. However, if you move that same content into a premium capacity, the user doesn't need a pro license. The capacity entitles you to distribute that to the user. The little arrow there in the middle shows the transition we'll do as we introduce the viewer role, so that when you have the viewer role and the workspace is in premium and the user is free, the user will be able to access. Okay? So that gives you the summary there. The other thing that's important is we talked about a lot of different shared datasets capability. The ability to consume content built on a dataset, copy, save, and connect. And it's important to know that pro users can do all of those so long as they have permission on the underlying dataset. But some of those things are allowed even for content on premium. Most interestingly, the ability to create a new report connected from Power BI Desktop to the Power BI service is a super important thing. Same thing happens for the XMLA, because we want to make sure that people can use that data set as a truthful source for all of the tools that they're using within the enterprise. And some of those tools may not live inside Power BI. Okay. So with that, let's pivot a little bit. We talked a lot about how we make it easier to distribute content to the broad mass of users. And now I want to talk a little bit about how we're also enabling end users to consume content more easily. And we're going to go quite quickly on this section, because a lot of the stuff we've kind of shipped, or you saw in some of the demos earlier today. Importantly, we've added home and personal bookmarks, persistent filters, and a number of other capabilities to make it easier for users to consume content. We added commenting on dashboards and reports. We shared with filters so that it's easier to send exactly the data that you wanted to talk to someone about. We even added mobile notifications so that when someone comments on a report, I actually get a buzz on my app. Importantly, we're actually doing two big new things there. One is this new look for consumption. I'll talk about that in a bit. And the second one is this home customization and branding to make Power BI a more welcoming place. We'll see what that looks like here in a second. The other thing that we've done, and this is critical, when we talk about enterprise reporting, there's a whole life cycle of that. It's not like the ad hoc reporting or the self-service reporting where I just send you a report and you know who I am. And in enterprise reporting, quite often someone gets programmatically said, this is the report you should use. We've actually taken a number of steps to ensure there's help and support processes baked into our experiences so that you can go and get your users connected to the report authors or to the official support sites, so you can manage that at scale. And it's really important. I'll show you a couple of those here in a second. So the first one is a simplified new look. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to make it much more welcoming and simpler for end users to access Power BI, cleaning up navigation so it's easier to find. And you'll see that we did a number of things, right? We introduced a friendlier background color. We brought pages from the bottom of the screen to the left because we found that non-technical users have a struggle to find all the content they have access to. We simplified the actions on the reports, and we added more metadata so that it's easier for users to figure out, is their report up to date. All that's going to be shipped later this summer under an opt-in, so you'll be able to opt in to see it. We also provided handy contact information for the report author so that no longer are users trying to figure out who published the report. There's a lot more detail in Nikhil and Samya's session tomorrow. It's BRK3042 if you'd like to go into it. Tenant branding allows you to make Power BI more organization specific, meaning that your users will readily understand that this is a tool that you published for them to use in your organization, not some thing that someone just sent them. There's a bunch of customization. Again, more details will come tomorrow. The next thing that we did, and this is more for IT admins, in the Power BI admin portal, we enabled you to publish a number of different URLs. training and documentation URLs, so that if you need to describe for your user who's first time coming into Power BI which data sets they should use, how to build a basic report, where's the user group and stuff like that, you could go do that. Discussion forum, if you wanted to have live support or a team that supports your users. Licensing requests, many organizations don't like the fact that Power BI prompts people to start a pro trial. Well, if you have a system that assigns those, you can put the URL here and we'll just send them to your system, which is really nice. And the last one is help desk. A lot of organizations struggle because their users don't call them when they have a problem, even though they have lots of people waiting on call centers to answer those questions. They call Microsoft, because by default we send you to community.powerbi.com. You can set this up here so that your users can find support, find discussions, find known issues, or open a support ticket in your organization. It's super important that you go do that. The next thing that we did was we made apps easier to use. And apps, as we said, are the way you distribute to large users. And we actually found that the satisfaction of users who received apps is much lower than people who got something shared by a friend or a colleague that they know. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the next generation of apps are much easier to use, easier to understand, and deliver that need. So we built this new experience for building apps. And so with that, let me just jump in a little bit and show you what that looks like. Now, I've already kind of stolen my own thunder here a little bit with this app, but let's go and take a look at a new app. So I'm going to go and click on this one. This is just an app I've published. And what you'll notice when you look at this app is you'll see that I have a left navigation here. This is a dashboard, but it's called Overview. It's grouped into a section. I could go and click on individual items here to open them. If I have a report like this one, I can actually see all of the pages of the report right here in the left navigation. So as an end user, I'm not looking all over the UI trying to figure out what's in my app. I see it nicely organized and carefully curated, and I'll show you how we do that here in a second. Importantly, though, if I wanted to, I could create a link and link to related content. So in this case, this is another app that this user might need to use. I could even do things like embedding content directly within the app. So here I've put in a video. Here, a lot of the times, actually this is a little shocking to us, but we know this for a fact. Most IT teams don't even know that their users are having trouble with the content they provided. Okay? And so one thing you can do is you can add a little help link, help improve this app, in your app. And what I've done here is I've wired it up to a forms survey that's done in NPS style, where I can go rate the app, give it a rating, whatever that is. No, actually, it's not a 6, it's a 10. And tell me this is great. But I can actually help the author improve their content through feedback mechanism. And all that's enabled directly in the app. The other thing that I can do is over here on the right-hand side, we've added a new info panel under the eye icon. And here, what I can actually do is I can actually provide metadata information, but I can actually put a support site in there too. Again, if I wanted to direct someone to a support site where they could open a ticket to get help, I could do that. It saves me from receiving email and gets them help faster. So it's something that we are really focused on to make sure that we iron that out. Okay? So now let's take a look at how we create that. If I press the edit icon for the app and I press the update app button, you'll see that we have a new experience for publishing an app. It's more streamlined. A couple of things on the setup pane, I can actually change the name of the app. I can put in that support site. I can provide a custom logo that's not tied to the workspace. And I can choose from our multitude of app theme colors that have been designed to be a lot nicer. On the navigation is where the magic happens. By default, new apps that you create will have this enabled, and existing apps will have it turned off. So you can create the old style apps too. And in here, what I can actually do is for each of the items that are in my app, I can go customize their name, right? Whatever I wanted to do. I could go and change the order in which they appear to my heart's degree. I can go and I can create sections. So this here is a section. And so I would go under the new and I'd create a section. And in this section, I can just move things in and out of that section. So here, customer profitability sample. If I move it up, it moves out of the section. If I move it down, it moves into the section. And then at the end, if I move one out of the bottom, it just moves out of the section. I, of course, can go and choose whether something's in a section or not. All these items where I put in links, I actually just go in and create a new link here, and I paste the link, whatever that is. This one is in an app in Power BI. Here, if I use a video, I'm showing an example of a YouTube embed link, and I use a content area. Not everything will be embeddable here, because some sites don't allow themselves to be embedded, but many do. And so you can use that in wonderful ways. And that forms link that I included here is just a link that says it's going to open in the current tab. And so with that, I'm able to heavily customize my app to meet my users' needs. Those options that I was talking about for building on top of apps and copying reports are here on the permissions pane. And you'll notice here that we have the new options here at the bottom. So I won't talk to them further here. Okay. So we talked about how we can customize various aspects, and it's super important. Let me come back again. This support URL is critical. If you don't set it, it's really bad. Lots of people in your organizations, when you have 18,000 salespeople, they need an efficient way to raise support requests. So it's super important. Embed content also works with things like Power BI Report Server on-premise. It supports an embed. So if you have existing on-prem assets, you can actually start building this kind of hybrid scenario. The app personalization allows users to get more value out of your app to meet their own unique needs and get their answers faster. And then you can also build new reports from the app data set. And that means that they can go and customize extensively. So it's actually a really, really compelling set of capabilities. Very quickly, we also have capabilities around our mobile apps. Who here uses the Power BI mobile app? Okay. Only about half the hands went up. Do download and take a look. It makes it so much easier to go access the data that you need to be tracking anyway, and it supports things like those commenting notifications that I discussed. That speeds up your agility as you try to answer your users' questions. We also, though, enable you to embed into line of business applications and portals. We have a SharePoint web part. We have an API you can go use. One major thing we did earlier this year was we introduced a new easy-to-use secure embed capability. And what that does is it allows a mere mortal business user to securely embed a report into any portal that supports an iframe and see up-to-date secure data. A lot of people have been using publish to web for this because it's so easy. If you see that in your organization, do take steps to move them over to the new secure embed capability. It's just as easy, but it's secure. Okay. The next thing that we did was we have a capability with our Azure B2B, which allows us to securely share content from within your organization in a governed and principled way with an external organization. And this is a really compelling capability. A lot of users have subsidiaries or affiliates that they need to produce the authoritative report and then send it out to all the subsidiaries. Consultants and contractors. A lot of us hire consultants or contractors, and the question is, how do we get them into our Power BI? Do we create a new user account? Do we manage licenses? Well, guess what? The Azure B2B capability addresses a lot of that. Or strategic partners. I know in many industries, whether it's oil and gas or others, people share facilities. A good example of that close to home is hospitals. A lot of the time rent facilities to individual doctors. And each of those doctors need access to analytics. So it's actually a very interesting solution. And what we've done is we've actually introduced a new capability earlier this year that allows you to securely allow external users to edit and manage content inside your Power BI tenant. And that's going to transform how quickly you can get contractors up to speed, but also how you can execute those strategic partnerships. The next thing that we did was we unified all the workloads that we have. We have these interactive reports in Power BI. We actually brought in all the paginated reports as well. So these are reports that would traditionally run on premises in Power BI Report Server. They now work, and it's generally available within the cloud service, so you can distribute those insights out to your users. And there's a whole bunch of stuff the team has done there. Great job getting the Power BI Report Builder in, supporting embedding these reports in Power BI apps alongside other interactive content. Just a ton of work went into making sure that this happens. So you should really think about it. The last thing I wanted to cover on is I promised that we'd talk a little bit about admin and governance. And we spent a lot of time on shared datasets because they're brand new and we need to understand the foundational pieces. They fit into the existing framework we've built out around admin controls and experiences so that you can monitor and govern what is happening with your data in your organization. The first thing to know is we have a Power BI admin portal. I showed you it in one of the demos where I was setting some of these settings. It's important then to know that you should be looking at that portal. There's really maybe 5 different kinds of administrative role in Power BI. There's things that we normally think about, the Office 365 global admin, the billing admin, the Power BI service administrator, that's where you get into that Power BI portal. Then we also have, when you purchase a Power BI premium capacity, each capacity has a Power BI capacity administrator as well. And then of course, at the workspace level, you can have a workspace admin. Importantly, one user can be in all these roles, but quite often they're separate. In order to use some of our features like audit logs, you do need to have the appropriate rights in the Office 365 admin portal. Okay? We also provide built-in usage metrics for individual reports and dashboards. We are heavily investing in this space, and we will be producing relatively soon new and updated analytics with a new underlying pipeline that's going to hopefully excite you very much about this capability. The usage metrics are available to workspace users on an individual report. You just press the usage analytics button. We also have audit logs. Everything that happens in Power BI when, for example, you share to a user or you create something, delete something, is audited and all goes into the Office 365 audit log. There you get data that's resident for 90 days. There's APIs at the Office 365 level for you to extract that and archive it, and many customers are. If you're not doing that today, start doing it. It's really important as part of your data governance. There's also detailed logs that have a 7-day granularity. You can also extract those and build more sophisticated reporting on top of it. So do take a look at that. All of it has a standard PowerShell script, so Power BI service will look just the same as any of the other Office services when we go through that. We also have some third-party solutions like the Neil Analytics solution template that gives you a more streamlined experience to building that kind of data archiving system. They have some primitives for pulling data periodically and then providing you a very nice starting point report for you to iterate. You could do it on your own, but it may take you a little while to get started. So definitely do check them out. And then the last thing to really know is that we have a set of APIs. We've invested heavily in admin level APIs for Power BI so that you can go and see everything that's in all the workspaces, and you can go and create workspaces or delete workspaces, change the access for a workspace, all as a Power BI admin, and those are essential tools for you to be aware of. So there's a huge set. One amazing thing that we've done is we've actually enabled in the documentation the ability to try this. So you can actually get started incredibly quickly. So on the slide, you'll see what it looks like. As well, when you actually execute it, you'll see just the JSON that comes back. So it's really easy to get started and start automating your oversight and governance with Power BI. We have also a set of PowerShell scripts, if you're PowerShell junkies, that allow you to call all of those APIs. One of the coolest PowerShell script that we have is a script that actually calls any of our REST APIs, handles the authentication for you. So it's really, really easy to start using those to automate your oversight activities. We have a ton of features we've shipped in the last year. And in order to cover all of them, you should go watch all of these. And these are just on the core service side that relate to many of the things that we've talked about today. There's an equal amount for the Power BI desktop and report creation. So I highly encourage you to see them now or see them afterwards as you have time. So this is my contact information. I am always available. Just reach out to me. I regularly respond and connect people to the right folks. I'm very responsive here and on LinkedIn. So please reach out to me. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much. I don't have the eval slide in this version of the slide. Do fill out the eval and then I'll open it up for questions for a few minutes, and then I'll be outside to answer more questions. Gentleman in the front.